Okay, it's Mike. So, religion, dystopia, non-first belief. I got a couple of images I filmed last year of orbs and UFOs and Bigfoot. Anyways, we're going to be listening to video. Oh, they'll probably nail me for it, whatever. Um, Richard Dolan's show, something worth listening to once in a while. And he's going to be interviewing Stan Gordon, and he's going to be describing the some connections that he's seen in his research and observations with balls of light orbs, UFOs, and Bigfoot.
Greetings and welcome to the Richard Dolan Show, where every week we fight the good fight. I'm very happy to introduce my guest for this program. He is one of the most, I would say, senior and seasoned and respected UFO researchers and investigators in the world. This is Stan Gordon. Stan has been researching Bigfoot encounters and other mysterious events in Pennsylvania since, drumroll, 1959. I don't think there's another researcher around who has been more associated with a particular region in the nation or world than Stan. He's lived in Western Pennsylvania, I think, for his whole life or close to it. It's the area he knows and loves. But of course, his research is universal. It is fascinating. It's just amazing. And over the years, Stan's been involved with investigating thousands of unusual incidents. He's led teams of scientists, engineers, research specialists. He's the primary investigator of the 1965 UFO crash incident that occurred near Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. It's a very well-known case. Stan has also been taking calls on UFO sightings and other strange reports from the public since 1969. That is a hotline, which is very well known in the UFO field. And he continues to receive unusual reports on a regular basis. He's lectured frequently on UFOs, Bigfoot, cryptids, strange encounters. He was Pennsylvania State Director for MUFON. He's received many awards and recognition over the years. He is the producer of an award-winning UFO video documentary called Kecksburg, The Untold Story. He's the author of 4 books: Silent Invasion, the Pennsylvania UFO Bigfoot Casebook, Really Mysterious Pennsylvania, and Astonishing Encounters, Pennsylvania's Unknown Creatures. His 4 Creepy Cryptids and Strange UFO Encounters of Pennsylvania. It just was released in March of 2022, so quite recently. I have a link to Stan's website below. It is, let me just make sure I've got it here. stangordon.info, but I'll have a link below. That's my long introduction, but definitely worthwhile for Stan Gordon. Stan, welcome to the program. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me on, Rick. It's great to hear your voice again.
Same here. So we're doing this old school method. I've got you on a telephone line. That's why we're not doing a visual, but I think this is going to be just wonderful. And I'll just start off by saying I got interested in wanting to connect with you because of the communication I got from you relating to some of your recent research on intelligent balls of light. But I think, we can get into that, and then I think there's a lot of other very interesting areas of investigation you're into. But can we start with the balls of light phenomenon? What's going on with that? This is something I've heard about for years, and it's interesting that you're researching this as well. What's the story with this?
All right. Well, we'll get into some of the recent stuff. Just give your listeners a little bit of history, because so they understand kind of what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people in the field are really not really aware of some of these type of incidents. I started hearing about these cases back in the 1960s. I've called them mini UFOs. For orbs, I mainly talk about these small spheres of light, generally spherical, but not always. There's other configurations sometimes being reported. Interestingly, the smallest one's about 1 inch or 2 in diameter. They're like large, oversized lightning bugs, fireflies of various colors. Majority of them are, again, spherical, maybe a golf ball to baseball size. Others around 1 foot or 2 in diameter. Now, quite often just bright, luminous sources of various colors. In some cases, they appear to be solid and metallic looking. What's so intriguing about these reports, these are not high-level sightings of lights in the sky. These are very low-level, right above the ground, sometimes on the ground, reports of these objects, whatever they are. Many in daylight. in recent months with that instance where they come up within feet of witnesses, even in daylight. They're really intriguing. Over the years, I've had incidents where they've actually followed moving vehicles. I've had them enter people's moving cars through open windows and also into homes through open windows. They quite often just flood around the house and go back out through the windows. In some cases, most of the vehicle were very, very fascinating. That's it. For years, these small objects. But since March of this year, I've seen a very, very big. Most of these are coming in from many areas, and it's not just wooded forested areas. So we've had reports for years. We're getting more and more reports in more populated, like county development as well. And there's been some security camera footage, for example. These got people vital set of activity on a property. In fact, their video, they can see these small spheres of light moving right up to the porch. Very, very intriguing, and that's really back in yes, these spheres, whatever they are. White, blue, and red and orange. A lot of blue reports different lights as well. So that's very common. One of the detailed current reports I'm interesting as well. A lot of these are people who are calling in on my hotline that I've been interviewing. Some researchers I'm in touch with have always got some of these reports. One of the areas you're hearing me talk about search today will be Fayette County and Chestnut. A lot of it goes through Westmoreland, Indiana County here in southwest PA. It extends down to a few miles outside of Morgantown, West Virginia. So this ridge area is a little less than 100 miles long. Mm-hmm. But it's a very active area, probably one of the most active areas in the country, and especially certain locations for if you have these spheres of light encounters with Bigfoot, cryptids, and other phenomena as well. But one of my researchers, you'll probably hear me mention his name is Jim Brown. He's a researcher up in Fayette County. He's a very high-tech guy. He's very serious. He has some home-built, some very high-tech instrumentation he uses. But of the reports that came in this year, and some of these are very recent, and this would have been October the 8th outside of Uniontown, Pennsylvania. And he interviewed the witness, the husband and wife, and it was around 6 o'clock in the morning. The fellow was pretty cold outside in the 40s and decided to get the early morning paper. So he was just in his slippers and robe, and he decided to go outside to get the paper. So the paper box about 50 feet away, and he was glowing white bulb light, inches in diameter, between him and the paper box. And then, this was a very interesting point. He said he began to feel very, very sleepy at that point. And later, when he talked to his wife, he recalled that this spherical object was making slow circular motions. It was, again, between him and the porch. And at around 7 o'clock in the morning, his wife was looking for him and was startled to see that he was sound asleep on the porch in that cold weather in his sleeping apparatus. And anyhow, when she woke him, he said that he had gotten so tired he couldn't stay awake. And that was really intriguing because of this next report, which happened 2 days later, up about 40 miles away, up in the Laurel Ridge area. So the Laurel Ridge area is just a short distance over from a section of the Chestnut Ridge. And there's a lot of activity also in some areas around there as well. But it was around 2:30 in the morning. This woman is awakened. She goes to the restroom. She comes out of the restroom, and about 5 feet away in her living room, now she has one of these older homes, very high ceiling, and she notices this deep blue sphere about 1.5 feet in diameter, just hovering there, very low. And she said, and it was deep blue in color, but inside of that sphere, she could see this gray swirling mass that looked something like one of those old lava lamps. And the object was solid as the sluggy moved up and down. She took one step towards it, she recalled, and when she did, she felt a sensation, and she said it reminded her of like a pre-dawn of electricity when she's near an electric fence. She recalled looking at that object for about 10 seconds and then became very, very tired. And she immediately went into bed and fell asleep. And she told me later, she said, "That is so unusual for me." She said, "I'm an insomniac. She said, I don't fall asleep. I have no explanation." She said the next day when she woke up, she was very, very sluggish and very, very groggy. That's just an example of some of the kind of reports that have been coming in.
That's fascinating. And that's just only a month and a half ago. This is quite recent.
And there's been some more similar, more recent reports as well.
So I wonder, the whole thing about being sleepy, isn't that interesting? Like this phenomenon clearly is affecting us, maybe cognitively, definitely in our physiological reactions. And I mean, what do you think this is? Can I ask you have you speculated about this? I'd like to hear some more of these stories, but what do you think is this a ball? This can't be ball lightning, can it? Like a natural phenomenon? I wouldn't think so, but how long do these things last? Ball lightning is a brief kind of a thing, isn't it? How long do these balls of light last for?
Well, sometimes it's for several minutes, so they move away, where sometimes they accelerate, or they go up into the sky, or they go off into the woods and just keep going. So it's not something that takes place just for a few seconds. And in these types of conditions, we're having them in. Again, all year round reports come in, but UFOs, like we'll talk about specifically right now, these strange spheres of light.
Yeah.
You don't have the weather conditions. There's no activity. There's no conditions for this type of thing. And again, some of these objects appear not to be just light sources, but there's some cases where they appear to be more solid and metallic. But here's another really interesting one, April of this year, April 6th. Mm-hmm. And this ended up in Fayette County, and Jim Brown investigated. And he got on the scene of this case within 45 minutes after it happened. So it's a nice day. A man and his wife are outside. This occurred around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They're out in their field. They have their wheelbarrow. They're digging some topsoil, filling some holes in the ground, when suddenly they see about 50 feet away what they thought at first was a Mylar balloon. They see the silver circle object about 2 feet in diameter. And they watch this thing. It's only about 10 feet above the fence line, slowly moving towards them. And as it gets closer and closer, they realize this is not a balloon. This object is now getting physically brighter and brighter as it gets closer. But as it gets quite close to them, they said it like exploded. And they said there was like a small lightning bolt shot from the object to the ground. The explosive sound was like that of a small firecracker, followed by a snap like a spark. The spark started a small fire in the field, which they immediately put out. And they noticed that about 100 feet away along the path that the object was moving towards them, there was also another small fire that they went and put out.
That's incredible. That's amazing.
You know, they were stunned. But Jim gets out there within 45 minutes. He gets to the scene. There's no residue or debris at all. Where Mylar balloon exploded, there should have been residue everywhere. There was nothing whatsoever at the scene.
Did this thing look like a solid object to the witnesses, or did it look more like a light phenomenon?
My understanding was that it was silver and circular and looked like a solid object. And it physically got more intense and luminosity as they were looking at it.
But then it seemed to kind of explode, as it were.
Yeah.
And then
that's a very unusual one for me, too.
And started a fire. It started a fire, no less.
Yeah, and there was another case a few years ago up in several miles from there, for witnesses too. But this was in November of 2019, and this was near the area, and man found this spherical object on the ground, and he realized as well, whatever this thing is, it looks like a big ball, and I'm gonna have to get out there, and I'm going to have to move this thing. So as they fade away, vanish, and disappears.
These are incredible stories. I recall reading a number of these in over many years of research. You know, when you reading about UFO reports and the one I recall reading the most were like a dull orange color frequently. And they're around the world. They're definitely around the United States. I recall reading several of someone's running along the California highway in, I think, the 70s. It's a long time ago. And it was a basketball-sized sphere that was just seen moving across the road, across the highway. And I recall a bunch of these kinds. In fact, I'll just share with you a little friend guy. And in 1978, he was living in the suburb of Rochester, New York, and he had a stepdaughter in 1978. I think she was a young teenager. And he said to me, yeah, she woke up out of her sound sleep at like 2 or 2:30 in the morning and instinctively looked outside her bedroom window and saw an orange glowing sphere of light in the backyard. And the next thing she remembered, she went out in her nightgown. It was summertime, so the weather was good. So she's out in her nightgown in this backyard at 2:30 in the morning. And that was the last thing that she remembered. And then she just described it to the family. But I thought that was an interesting story. And he was very, like, absolutely adamant that this was the case. This happened. I don't know any of the details of how what happened or how they learned about it. But I just thought this thing seemed to have a kind of telepathic connection to her, because I don't think it was a coincidence that she woke up at that time and looked out the window and saw a glowing ball of light. Do you get any of these reports in the middle of the night and someone just kind of walks out and sees these things? Does that ever happen? Or is there any evidence that there's a mental connection?
Yes. In some cases, we've heard these type of reports, but now it's not just with the small spheres of light, these small orbs or mini UFOs. I've also had many cases over the years. You know, I've dealt with thousands and thousands of witnesses. I deal with these cases almost every day on current or past reports. It's just amazing what goes on out there. And I've had many, many very credible people tell me that they are awakened during the night and something told them they needed to go outside.
Yeah.
And in some cases, these people have had some very detailed UFO cases. Some people, as I recall over the years, they actually took some pretty interesting pictures. They couldn't recall even when or where it happened, but they remember going out and being called out to go up to for whatever reason. So yes, I've heard those reports. But let me tell you also, Richard, let me give you an example of another mini UFO case that is not a sphere. Just to give you an idea of variation. So this goes back to October 2017. This is down in Fayette City, Pennsylvania. This is down in the Mon Valley area, I believe, along the Mon River outside of Pittsburgh, where a lot of weird things go on all along those small communities down around there, from UFOs to Bigfoot sightings and other phenomena. But this morning, it was cold outside, and the fella got up early. The nice fella got up and went out to his wife's car, and the driveway area was all illuminated, so it was very bright. He could see very clearly. He's walking down the steps towards his wife's car when he's about 10 to 12 feet away from her vehicle, but he sees something by the right bumper. And he said, I don't know how to describe this thing to you. He said it was only about 2 feet tall and shaped like a haystack. He said it was translucent and shiny and had a milky white color. There were like vertical ribs that seemed to be like the superstructure that looked like chrome straws that could be seen through the translucent structure. And he said this thing was gliding about 1 to 2 inches off the ground, and it was motionless when he first saw it. He got to about 6 feet away from this thing when it must have sensed that he was there, and it suddenly zoomed extremely fast across the driveway to the left side of the car, made a perfect right angle turn along the driver's side into the darkened area, and he never saw it again, and he has no idea what it was.
How extraordinary. I mean, honestly, it strikes me as definitely related to what we call the basic UFO phenomenon, you know, seeing craft and sometimes beings. It just strikes me as very compatible with that. It seems like they're doing some kind of surveillance. Well, I mean, I don't really know what the purpose of these probes are. Have you wondered, like, who is behind this? What are these for? What is going on? Do you have any ideas or theories?
Well, I speculate about this back in the 60s and 70s on hearing these reports. And when I first heard about them, I was under the opinion that possibly these were some type of probe that will send you back audio and video data to another source, whatever that was. But now, over many, many years, including a lot of incidents in more recent years, and what I uncovered during that massive UFO Bigfoot outbreak in 1973, which we can talk about, that's when I began to realize that there was a lot more to the spheres of light, to the UFO phenomenon, and even to Bigfoot than I had ever imagined. And I surely wasn't looking for this, nor were my research associates. And it got much stranger and stranger. So just to give an example, just to give an idea of what was going on during that massive wave of 1973, that's when I had, luckily in 1970, I founded my first of 3 volunteer research groups that would investigate incidents across the state. The first group was founded in 1970, and it was kind of unique in that many of the people involved, most involved, were specialists. We had all types of scientists, engineers, technicians, police officers, former military specialists. We all did this voluntarily around our full-time jobs. With my electronics background, I set up a elaborate communications center in my home and a 2-way radio dispatch system to dispatch some of the researchers out to the scene quickly. By 1973, we had extended to cover the whole state of Pennsylvania. And so we were beginning to get referrals from law enforcement, from news media across the state. So we were jammed with calls coming in. And we were just very, very lucky that we had already pretty well set up when 1973 comes around. Now, you remember, Richard, very well, in the fall of 73, the United States experienced quite a wave of UFO activity. Was covered extensively in the news media.
Yeah.
But back in Pennsylvania, starting January 1st and continuing to the last day of the year, we had the biggest UFO wave ever documented. There were hundreds and hundreds of UFO reports coming in. And many were not lights in the sky. Many of these were low-level, what appeared to be large structured objects, following vehicles, hovering over highways. There were landing reports. There were cases with electromagnetic effects involved. It was an amazing time just trying to keep up with all these UFO cases. But in the summer of 73, we had the biggest outbreak of Bigfoot sightings ever documented. That went into 1974. Dozens and dozens of Bigfoot sightings, sometimes more than one creature. Many of these sightings were in daylight. And sometimes, again, there were more than one creature, and quite a lot of cases, my teams would be out on the scene within minutes to hours documenting, investigating these incidents, and there'd be some type of physical evidence at the scene. Let me just tell you this very briefly.
Yes, please.
What I knew about Bigfoot, I was investigating Bigfoot sightings back in the 1960s in Pennsylvania. From what I knew about these things, I thought they were some type of unknown primate, some type of unknown creature. Was all these incidents that happened in 1973. A lot of very strange things began to come to our attention. And we all have to remember, 1973, there's no cell phones, there's no internet like it is today. Most people, if they were frightened, something happened unusual, they called the police and the newspapers.
That's right.
And then we were getting a lot of referrals from those sources, or they're calling my hotline. But that's when things began to get very strange. One of the things was we get out to some of these locations within a short time after these alleged creature encounters, under all types of ground conditions and different weather conditions, including the winter when there's snow. So we've had these strange footprints, large tracks in most cases, with big strides that we would follow for a distance that would just abruptly stop and end when it should have been more tracks. There couldn't have been, there's no way it could have been fabricated. And by the way, that's going on all around the country, even more recent years. But anyhow, then we began to see this pattern. We'd have a UFO sighting in a particular area. Within minutes, hours, days later, we'd have a Bigfoot sighting or vice versa. And then we had some of those incredible cases, which I think you even may have mentioned in your first book, with UFOs and Bigfoot seen together at the same time and place. And that's when things really began to make us scratch our head, like, what are we doing?
If I mentioned that, I was probably working off of your research. if I can. Most likely, because I think you're one of these unique people who you're not just a fearless UFO investigator, but you've done Bigfoot research for years. There's not many people who actively do both of those. I mean, I don't know too many. A small handful. So, in fact, your book.
It's a good place to interrupt. To listen to the rest of this. Yeah, Bigfoot, UFO, orbs, all associated. He's tells what he's saying. 50 years ago, they knew this. 50 years ago, and all this time, only a handful of people have been brave enough of saying that. And then you see these other people who are capitalizing on what they've already knew for 50 years, making a big name for themselves. You can read between the lines. I've been saying this for 6 years, and very few people would even listen to me back then. In fact, I have to tell you, in all sincerity, I was brutally ostracized, made fun of, and mocked at by those who call themselves the Bigfoot community. Yet, guys like Stan Jordan and all these other guys, very credible, quote unquote, credible researchers, knew about it all this time, and they were ostracized, quieted, so that we could believe that the image right here, this would be Bigfoot. Well, to get an idea of what possibly Bigfoot might be, the multiple ideas. This is what I filmed back in late October of last year when me and a friend of mine were stargazing, in which we filmed unidentified flying objects and a whole bunch of orbs. As you see in this picture, it's very blurry. That's because it's a nighttime image, but then I had to brighten up. But you can see, and you can call it pixelating all you want. You can call it pareidolia all you want. But really, there's a big old thing there, or things making themselves look like a thing, one of the two, with his hand around the branch, his head popping between the branch and the main trunk of that tree, and there's other entities with it. These things, this is multifaceted. This is not what they've been telling us. And it's time for all of us, well, I don't know, you can do what you want, but as for me, I want to know the truth. And it leads me to be in contradiction with the mainstream. That's probably a good place, because I found this in everything else in my life. Literally. Now, let's check this out. Hey, Sheldon, and if anybody else is there, thank you. Had a great night with our friend Sean Graham, and I hope you guys listen to the interview and learn something. Remember, all this is connected, whether it's out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, astroplaning, the ethereal realm, the astroplane, the spiritual realm, these entities. Of course, we can't talk this way for some reason, because then all of a sudden people think it has something to do with religion. And apparently people can't figure out the fact that religion itself and hijacked this truth. But to each their own. Those of us who want to know the truth will come to know the truth. The rest, they just want to be part of a group. They're going to be part of a group. It's always going to be that way. We all have to make our choice. Either we pursue the truth, or we go and, hang out in some limited hangout, some group, and just pretend that the people around us actually value us more than they actually do. You're not a commodity. You're a spirit having a physical experience. This realm is much more dynamic than anything that you're going to learn in college or university, and definitely on the television to tell you how to see, the television, the mainstream media. I've listened to between the lines. Now these guys, some of these guys have been ostracized terribly for decades, and now all of a sudden they're being embraced by the same community, the same group of people that hated them, They made fun of them. And so why am I sharing this stuff? I'm not sharing this stuff to share scary stories with you. What I'm sharing with you is that I've been trying to tell you the truth, and there's been other people who've been trying to tell you the truth, and we don't get listened to. And when we have these people that call themselves this group or that community, they just shove us aside. Why is that? Apparently, truth is not that important. What's more important is that they control the narrative, the official narrative, the authoritative narrative, because maybe, just maybe, you might know more of the truth than they will. And most importantly, you might realize that you don't need them at all, that they need you. Listen to this. This is fantastic. Thanks for the comments, Sheldon.
About 1973 is a book that I have, and embarrassed by the density of sightings of UFOs and Bigfoots. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's not simply an isolated Bigfoot sighting or an isolated UFO. I think there are cases where they were seen more or less in the same area at the same time, or am I wrong?
Oh, you're correct. And again, yes, I started writing about these cases back in the early 1970s.
Yeah.
And it was a different time period. I was in touch with a lot of the well-known names in the UFO Bigfoot field during that time, and I started publishing some of these very strange reports of these cases that I can give you a little more detail about if you like. But anyhow, a lot of people in the Bigfoot field, of course, did not want to associate Bigfoot with UFOs and vice versa.
Yeah.
And that's still the same today.
Exactly.
But there's more and more people now, more investigators and more witnesses all around the country, around the world, who are now reporting and are getting reports and are experiencing things what I wrote about back in the 70s that are happening now all across the country, and they're not laughing so much. But here's the interesting thing, among the details I'll tell you. One of the cases we had in September 73 north of Pittsburgh, you had two witnesses seeing the 7 to 8 foot tall Bigfoot covered with white hair running across the road towards the woods, but it was carrying a small luminous ball of light that's went in. And a short time later,
when was this? I'm sorry to interrupt.
This was September of 1973.
Okay.
During that big wave.
Carrying a ball of light.
Right.
Oh, keep going. So sorry.
After that happens, this large luminous object comes across the sky and projects a beam of light down in the woods where the creature ran into. And then other areas were reporting on their properties where they are seeing these Bigfoot creatures, these strange light phenomena or UFO activity around there as well.
Can I just interrupt to make sure I'm understanding this and the listener? So this was a white furred Bigfoot going through, and I don't know if it was a wooded area. It's carrying a ball of light or pulling, and then there's a beam of light coming from above, from a craft presumably, and the creature went into that beam of light.
You're pretty close. The object was running across the roads towards the woods, carrying a small sphere of light. A short time later, this large object came across the sky, projected a beam of light down into the woods where the creature had run into.
Okay. So no one saw the creature go into the light itself, but it was possibly the same area.
Yeah, it was in the same general area. That's correct. And these kind of cases come more and more. But what's been going on over the years, and here in Pennsylvania, in areas where there's a history of Bigfoot activity, and you can have Bigfoot sightings anywhere, but for certain areas where there's a history of recurring activity reported by hunters and outdoorsmen and many other people, and for years now, witnesses and researchers are reporting seeing these small orbs of light or other light phenomena in those general areas. And just to give you an idea, here was another case that occurred outside of the Pittsburgh area in May of 2019. So here's a fella lived out the country, happened to get up around, I think it was around 1 o'clock in the morning. He looked out the window. His backyard goes into a wooded area. It's very well illuminated. He sees a smaller Bigfoot, and they're not all 6 to 9 feet tall. Some are smaller. This one was around 4.5 to 5 feet tall, covered with long, very dark hair on the head and the back. You can see it. He was walking very long arms extending down past the knees. You got a good look at this thing. And as he's watching this thing, it enters a particular area of the woods. Within 3 seconds of the exact location where the creature had entered the woods, a bright sphere of light, small, about 3 to 4 inches diameter, suddenly appears. And that sphere is about 4 feet above the ground. And suddenly it vanishes. A few seconds later, it reappears about 10 feet away. And this time, that small sphere emits a bright beam of light about 10 to 12 feet long. And after a few seconds, that beam of light vanishes.
It was amazing. Did you say when this one was? Did I just miss that? Was this another 1973 case?
No, this was May of 2019.
Oh God, I'm so sorry. You said.
Yeah.
You're blowing my mind with these cases. What fascinates me, well, many things, but the fact that you're doing investigations of a phenomenon that does not fit in a nice little box that we want to put it in. Like, I include myself here. I've always wanted the UFO phenomenon to fit into a nice, logical little box. Like, okay, there's beings from another planet. They're here on these metal spaceships, and this is how they behave. But there's just so much more that's bizarre about this entire subject, including the whole Bigfoot connection, which UFO researchers love to run away from. They're terrified of the Bigfoot phenomenon. I'll just say, I mean, I don't know the Bigfoot subject anywhere like you do, but many years ago, I did interview a few Bigfoot witnesses as well. And the thing that struck me was just they sounded exactly like UFO witnesses in every way. You know, there's really no difference. I remember talking to one young man who's a hunter out in Oregon, and he said, I was out alone and I came across a stream. There was a large Bigfoot creature there. Looked at each other. He said we were like 90 feet away or less than that. And I'm thinking in terms of baseball, that's a run to first base from home. That's not far. So he's looking at this creature. It's looking at him. And I asked probably a silly question, but it was normal. I was like, well, how do you know this wasn't a bear? And he said, look, I'm a hunter. I know what a bear looks like. And he said also, he said this was brown and we don't have brown bears. We only have black bears in that area. But this thing, he said, was standing up like a man, like a creature, like a hominid. And so he didn't turn away. He just slowly backed away. I think he was afraid. But he said he had a good look at it. And when I was talking with him, I thought, this guy is completely believable to me. And I discovered this is how big, Sasquatch or Bigfoot witnesses are. They are every bit as logical and rational as any good UFO witness I've run into. I'm sure you found the same. I have no.
Oh yeah.
There's no difference there. So it's an uncomfortable thing. It's like, now this is another weird thing I'm supposed to do. But here you go. Like you can't run away from the evidence, right? You see the evidence. There it is. I didn't really expect to get into this, but it is fascinating. Do you think there's a connection between these creatures and the UFO phenomenon?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt there's some correlation. We just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But there again, details are like about a couple of the cases from '73 that convinced me we're dealing with something that's very, very strange and unusual, more than just an unknown animal. And as I'm describing these cases, you've got to understand what I'm trying to make people realize is I am not suggesting that Bigfoot is a passenger in a spacecraft from another planet or extraterrestrial, because we don't know for sure what the UFO or UFE phenomena really is. I said years ago, it's very possible there's more than one origin to the unknown category of the UFO phenomenon. And I can tell you what I've learned about the Bigfoot mystery, as weird as it sounds, and there's very, very good case for this now. Again, not just for my cases, but for many other researchers around the country, around the world, that whatever we're dealing with has a physical and a non-physical component to it. For lack of a better term, I'll say it's interdimensional. But there's similarities, as you know well, as you'll hear, with some of the UFO phenomena, some of the different type of reports coming in and what people are seeing, observing, and similar to a lot of the Bigfoot phenomena that a lot of people are not aware of. But if you want me to tell you about some of those 73 cases, There's two cases in particular that stand out among dozens and dozens of reports.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. We'd be very interested.
Okay, this one case now, and I believe you talked about it in your book. I think you did. It's a very detailed case. I'm going to shorten as much as I can, but I think it's very important so people understand there is some association between the two anomalies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this
Yeah.
was October 25th, 1973, in a rural area outside of Uniontown, Pennsylvania, up in Fayette County. There were many UFO incidents coming in during 24 hours on my UFO hotline on that day. But it was around 10:30 that night when I get a call from a state trooper from the Uniontown Barracks. And he just came back from investigating this multiple witness UFO landing. That was very, very unusual when you hear the details.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I think there's a good chance there's something still up in the pasture. Can you get one of your teams up here as soon as possible? Well, we're distance away, but we've got our team together. We've got our radio meters, other equipment, and found our way up to Fayette County. I'm sure we spent probably the whole night up there. And it was an amazing case. The very short part of the story is this. You had 15 witnesses in this rural area. They observed this barn-sized red ball about 100 feet off the ground, hovering and slowly beginning to move downward. One who lived in town was coming out to visit his family at his dad's farm, and he sees the object. He sees people standing outside looking at this big red sphere. Looks like it's coming down the land of the pasture. So he goes to a better location to a neighbor to get a better look. And he and the two young neighbor boys watch this thing. It looked like it's going to land, so they wanted to see what this thing was. So they go over to his dad's farm. He grabs a 30-06 and a handful of ammunition. Within that ammunition, he had 2 tracer bullets. So for those out there hunting, when you fire that tracer bullet, you just get that luminous trail.
Yeah.
It shows the trajectory. Anyhow, they start making their way down that farm road towards the pasture. The dogs around the area are carrying on. They're just barking extensively. They hear this high-pitched whining noise and these loud baby crying sounds. As they get closer and closer to the pasture area,
baby crying sound?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. That's
Okay.
weird. That's interesting. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
They angle their vehicle with the headlights on so they can see the path up the hill, and they notice it looks like something is draining the power from their headlights, and you never noticed that before. As they move up towards the pasture, they get up to the top, they're standing there in amazement. About 250 feet away, this huge object is now landed on the ground or right above it. It is now not a complete round sphere. It is like a half a sphere, like a big white dome, about 100 feet in diameter. It's flat, it looks flat on the bottom. It's illuminating the area, making a loud whining noise. They just stand there in amazement. They can't believe what they're seeing, but it got even stranger. A few attention's drawn to a barbed wire fence about 75 feet away. Along that barbed wire fence are these 2 huge hair-covered Bigfoot-type creatures, one behind the other, slowly walking in their direction. The one in front is about 8 feet tall. The one behind is about 7 feet tall. They're moving upright. They're bipedal. They're moving very slowly, one behind the other. They're covered with long, dark, matted, I believe it was grayish, brownish hair. The arms are so long, they're hanging past these elbows down to the ground. They have no neck. The eyes are large and luminous, bright green, and they're making that whining baby crying sound. Well, the one young boy so scared he ran out of the field. The other young boy yells to the older fella, shoot him, shoot him. So the fella fires his first shot. The first shot's a tracer. He fires over their head. No response. He fires the second tracer, but it's interesting. He fires that second tracer. The largest of the 2 creatures reaches out as though to grab that tracer and makes a loud, whining, baby crying sound, and that huge luminous object in the field at that time vanishes and disappears. It doesn't accelerate and leave. It's just gone. Most of the luminosity is gone. The sound stops. The creatures turn around slowly, start walking back along the fence line. At that point, he's firing live ammo from his 30-06 into the creatures with no effect on them whatsoever. They went back to the truck, go to the farmhouse, told the family what happened, called the neighbors. One of the neighbors called the state police. The state trooper arrives 45 minutes later. He said they went up in the troop car to look for evidence. And he said when they got to the scene, The area where the object had been on the ground was self-luminescent glowing, about 100 feet or more in diameter. He said the animals, the farm animals, would go into it. He said he shined his flashlight beam, he could barely see it. And he told me, he said, if I had a newspaper, I'm certain I could have read the newspaper from the luminosity coming off. That's the short part of the story. They were taken back to the barracks, I was told. Both the trooper and the witness were taken to 2 separate rooms, separately interviewed, then they called me and sent out my team. When we arrived on the scene, the radiation levels in that area were normal. The glow was gone. The farm animals still would not go near it. I don't have time to go into the whole story. What developed during the night was probably one of the strangest cases on record. That you may remember the name Dr. Berthold Schwartz, who was interested in these cases back in the 70s.
This is we're getting into some arcane names. That is familiar to me. Yes. By the way, I did not write about this because I'm hearing this. I feel like I'm hearing this for the first time. I don't think I covered this case. It's fascinating.
Okay, so anyhow, Dr. Schwartz spent a week up here interviewing the people, went back convinced they're all telling the truth. And Richard, there's one thing I don't think I mentioned to you. I do a lot of interviews. I couldn't remember. I've been doing this now for 63 years. I have never personally seen a Bigfoot or a UFO. I can just tell you, the more I know about the phenomenon we're dealing with, the stranger it is. And again, for lack of a better term, I'll call it interdimensional. There's a physical and a non-physical component to it. But there was another case, not far from this location, also Fayette County, way up in the mountain, in February of '74. It was the case that convinced me and my team that we're dealing with something that's far more unusual than an unknown animal with the UFO connection.
Yes. What are the details of this one?
Okay, so this was February 6, 1974. And you may remember it, but I'm sure some of your listeners do. There was a big national trucker strike taking place at that time. There was gas rationing around the country. Many people remember that.
Mm-hmm.
There was violence going on across the country and here in Pennsylvania. So you had the state police and National Guard patrolling together. You had members of both units respond to this case. There was no gas available here in my town, so I couldn't get up to the scene early next morning.
Yeah, we had that was the time of the oil embargo, I believe. The Arab oil embargo, perhaps? That was started in '73.
There was a big national strike going on. I think that's what the meeting was. I don't have all the details.
Okay.
But anyhow, here's a woman that evening in her little cabin home deep in the mountains. Nothing, normal night. She's watching TV. She hears this commotion on her little front porch. She had some empty soda cans, some empty pop cans out there. Something was rattling the pop cans around. And her first thought was, well, a few weeks prior, there had been a pack of dogs, wild dogs came through, and she thought, I bet the dogs are back. So she thought, you know what? I'll just grab my 16-gauge double-barrel shotgun, and I'll fire over their head, and I'll scare those dogs away.
Right.
So she proceeds to grab her shotgun. She loads one chamber. She walks up to the front door. She opens up the front door. She turns on the switch to turn the light on. She steps out, and when she does, 6 feet in front of her is a 7-foot-tall, gray-haired Bigfoot standing there. As soon as she put the light on, he put his arms straight up over his head.
Good grief.
And how did she react? She pulled the trigger and fired right into it. She said there was a bright flash of light, like a strobe on a camera, and that creature physically vanished and disappeared. But it gets even more interesting. Her in-laws lived 100 feet away. They heard the gunshot. They called her and asked her what she was shooting at. She tried to tell them. Her son-in-law grabs the sidearm. He starts walking down that road towards her cabin, that dark road. He saw a figure running down, couldn't know who it was. He said he was surrounded by 4 or 5 hairy people with eyes like coals of fire, started shooting at him randomly. And about the same time, there's this large, luminous UFO, like a big Christmas ornament, they said, hovering over the trees at the same time. That's when they called the state police. And I talked to the primary investigator. He said by the time they found this location deep in the mountains, the activity was over. He said something very strange happened up there. He said when he got on the scene, He said, one, the witnesses were very, very shaken. They gave a very detailed account. He believed they were telling the truth, but he said what convinced him was the animal reactions. Now, I told you I've never seen a Bigfoot UFO. I've seen the animal reactions many times over the years when I go out on the scene within minutes, hours after these incidents occurred. Even the most vicious dogs, when they're near Bigfoot, in a lot of cases, they will not bark. They just stand still. They shake. They cower sometimes. They won't even eat for sometimes 2 or 3 days later. Very, very calm. By the way, as some of you hear with some UFO cases as well, which I'm sure you're aware of. But anyhow, they had other animals on the farm. They had several big dogs. And he said those dogs wouldn't even move. It wouldn't make a sound. And when I got there early the next morning with my team, all the dogs were barking again. That was the case, among others that I had, that suggested we're dealing with something, again, that is not a physical animal. They come and they go, they hear and they're gone. And Richard, now you're aware of this, being involved in these cases for many years. You look at many of the UFO cases, UAP cases that have been going on for years and years, and you've even heard some bits and pieces about some similar details with some of the Navy reports that come out in the last few years. But in UFO cases I've investigated, many in daylight, in fact, many in recent weeks and months in daylight here in Pennsylvania. So you have these objects that sometimes suddenly appear out of nowhere, look like solid physical objects, especially a lot of these reports, which of course we're hearing the Tic Tac description, but many people really call them cigar-shaped, elliptical-shaped objects. Yeah, in some cases they're hovering. In some cases they suddenly begin to slowly fade away and vanish. In other cases they change from one physical form into another. Sometimes we have objects and you can see the solid outline moving across the sky and you can see right through them. And then we have many incidents of objects entering clouds and even very strange cloud formations that are making erratic movements in the sky even in the last year here in daylight that clouds don't do. But these objects enter these clouds and they never come back out. So you've got some similarities with some of the UFO encounters being reported and with Bigfoot. Because with Bigfoot, and again, a lot of this is things people have never heard of. Mm-hmm. We have many cases where people were within 5, 10, 20, 30 feet away from these creatures, even in daylight in some cases, very, very close. What appear to be solid physical creatures that in some cases that suddenly appear out of nowhere in front of a vehicle, they walk across the road and they're gone. In some cases, the creatures look physically solid to a degree, but sometimes parts of the body are more misty or foggy looking, or they're out of focus. And it's the same thing you've got to remember with the footprints, where in some cases they just abruptly should be more tracks.
That's an interesting element about the footprints. Well, all of this is interesting, Stan, honestly. And by the way, I just want to point out again, your website is stangordon.info. And I'm looking at it right now, and I would encourage listeners to take a look at your website. You have, there's articles galore, and I'm looking at articles that have a lot of drawings of UFO encounters. This is really a great resource. So again, I've got this link below for people to take a look at. I want to ask you about the disappearing footprints again, because I don't know the Bigfoot or Sasquatch phenomenon, anything like you do, but I do know, like, there have been people who've said, well, you can create fake Bigfoot footprints, you can get a big thing. But I've also listened to people analyzing that and saying, now look, you can always tell if it's put down and if it's fake or not. I remember someone talking about looking for the metatarsal ridge, I think. And I don't even remember. I don't know my anatomy that well, but also there are ways of studying the footprints as well to see where the pressure points are, to see if this is actually someone walking or if it's just a guy wearing fake feet. But the fact that these footprints disappeared is also very, very interesting. Is that a common thing, or is that just once in a while that you uncover that?
It's not. It's ongoing at times over the years. It's not something that you hear regularly. But again, these are cases that happen not only in Pennsylvania. I've investigated that. I'm aware of many similar accounts of other well-known research and others around the country have had reports as well. These things have been reported all over the country.
Yeah.
Like I said, we talked about this, and I wrote about it back in the 70s. And the last few years now, there are several other very good books that are out covering the same type of information from around the country. Many cases like this are being reported now, and it's something people aren't in the Bigfoot field. They're not. A lot of them are not laughing so much. I can tell you here, recent months, some of the big researchers I know in Pennsylvania, some of these guys are very experienced and open-minded but skeptical, and we talked for years about these small orbs of light. And in the last several months, in one of the areas now where we have recurring reports of various anomalies being reported, they encountered themselves having an experience of having these spheres come up within a few feet of them. And let me tell you, they were, I think, quite shaken over the experience.
Let me ask you. I'm sorry. Can I ask you this one question? Are you aware, in all of your years of investigating the Bigfoot cases, of anyone actually faking or trying to hoax a Bigfoot sighting? Does this actually happen?
Yes.
I hear these claims, but I really wonder how common are Bigfoot hoaxers. Do you run into them in your research?
Well, again, over so many years of doing this, have there been reports of hoaxes? Yes, but very, very few. And I can tell you, during that 1970, of all these sightings on that thing, all these UFO sightings, Bigfoot sightings, again, it was covered quite a bit after it happened, and word got out, and people were talking, people were getting very shaken because they were making many calls to law enforcement, public safety. There was a lot of amazing things going on around this area for weeks and weeks, and people were getting pretty concerned over it. And as it began to appear in some of the newspapers, you had some kids that were out there with forms out of wood and.
Yeah, Chris, you can join me. Hey, or anybody else who wants to. Yeah, we can watch the rest of this on Richard Dole's show. No, Stan Gordon is still alive, and this is not an old interview. This just happened. Let's get out of here.
Greetings and welcome to the Richard Dolan Show, where every week we fight.
Sorry about this delay. We can actually look and see if Stan's stuff. This was just posted this week. So we are, some of us are ahead of the game. Some are just starting to join. The truth is going to come out. And there's going to be a lot of people that call themselves experts, researchers who've been hiding the truth from us. They're going to be held accountable for all the deception they've been doing. I guess this was actually not this week. I see now. It was December 6th of last month. No, Stan's still alive. For some reason, I thought it was posted this week. Yeah, for some reason, we can't talk about this. For some reason, they forced us to be, and you got to be at this group or that group. What about the group that says, I'm interested in the truth? How about the group truth? Hey, Maria, thank you. Anyways, I guess I should say hi to everyone else. So, Maria, thank you. Sheldon, once again. Chris. Who else might be here? Muggalin Monster. You're still there. Ozzy, Sue, you're still there. Sandra, if you're still there. Hello. Yeah, Chris, join me. Tell me about this woman that you had experiences. We'll see how deep his research actually is. Oh, there's the footprint. Possible footprint. Be honest with you. Hey, there's Chris. Is that Chris? I'll get out of this. Let's talk to somebody.
I'm working on my backdrop here.
What's up, Chris?
How are you?
Good. I just got watching this video. Uh, Balls of Light, UFOs and Bigfoot. It's from Richard Dolan, who's a famous ufologist and researcher who posted this last month. More
I like what he
evidence.
was saying.
What's that?
I agree with what he's saying.
Well, it comes down to the more you have experience with this for real, and then just if you can listen to other people, you realize that there is we're doing something multidimensional, something spiritual, something something that's something that's been different than what they told us.
Yes. I
So
didn't
tell me
want to
about
go
it.
there.
You said
This
because
lady's
go ahead.
she works with my wife, and I've been wanting to talk to her for it's probably been months, and she found out what I was going to be what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, so she decided to call, and she shared probably four or five examples of stuff that's happened to the family. One of the stories was there's a footprint on one side of a puddle, and this puddle runs all the way across the yard, or all the way across the street. I'm sorry, and they could see where it went from one side to the other, so it jumped all the way across the road. And she said with that footprint, she could really tell the mid-tarsal break was in there. So she's probably not one to be like on all the Bigfoot stuff. So I love it when I get to talk to somebody like that, because they tell me without a dog in the hunt per se. So it was really cool. She shared a few other things that were right on point too. Let me think. She mentioned a story where her dad, he was heard noises, and I guess they call it, he's a pretty tough guy, and he said he's going to shoot into the woods or whatever, and he said, I have a gun, I'm going to shoot. If you're a person, you better speak up, and he fired. Well, it got to the point where they heard quite a few of them around him, and it freaked him out bad enough that they took off. So
Really?
Mm-hmm.
They heard them though, but did they see them?
I don't know if they ever saw him, but just because you don't see something doesn't mean anything. I mean, you
Well,
look at
I don't think it means you see them. That's all.
look at what happened to me. Look at my story. I mean, that's all I heard was one noise, and it sparked this whole thing. So
yeah, some crazy stuff. Let's watch this real fast. My friend Eric sent this. Let's watch this real fast.
Sure.
Some of you have already seen this.
This is a creepy one, and it's recently gone viral. The video depicts a man singing in the woods as he films some deer who come by to check out the sound. The deer seem pretty unfazed by the man's voice, and uncharacteristically haven't run off at the sight of any potential danger. They just stand there watching. What the man hasn't noticed, and what people have pointed out after the video is uploaded, however, is the fact that there are several other figures watching him from behind the trees, alarmingly close to the deer. Typically, it would be simple to pass this off as other people, out for
I don't know if it's true or not. I've put my money on that it probably is. The fun thing is, it doesn't quite look like your traditional Bigfoot, which gives me kind of hope that it's actually real. So, anyways, tell us more, man. So what else does this lady say?
have you seen that thing? It was just a couple days old. It looks like what they call the rake. It's like a white, hairless looking Bigfoot thing. Have you seen that?
The rake, yeah, the rake. Yeah, I mean, I've known that for years now. So, yeah,
So
I mean,
what's the
there's certain things.
What is the rake?
My guess. Well, there's My guess is as good as anybody else, first of all, and it's based on what
Right.
other people say. It's been around for quite a while, but I know it kind of was manifested into uh, the thought of the populace again. Um, yeah, I mean, what is a rake? Just
I've
another.
heard it
And
likes to
could it
climb.
be the same? Could it be
Oopsie.
the same entity that we call a Bigfoot or an alien, but just uh, shape shifted into something a little different? I don't know. I've heard all sorts of things. There's connections with shamans and skinwalkers. And the truth of the matter is, there are people that know what it is, and then there's the rest of us who are trying to guess. So that's I'm just like everyone else. I'm just guessing. I've seen things that could be qualified as rake, and quite frankly, and I've seen things that were not pure white but pure black that have very similar shapes. And quite frankly, I don't want to see it again. So, what do you think it
I,
is?
I don't know. I talked to a Navy friend of mine, and I was sharing with him when I first saw that one. It looks like a anorexic, kind of like a anorexic albino crackhead out in the woods with big eye sockets, And I was telling him about it, and he goes, that sounds exactly like something that my brother got on a trail camera. So I looked it up and I showed it to him. He goes, "Yep, that looks identical to it." I thought, what the
Huh.
heck? How is it something that skinny with no hair, no protection, basically? How could it even survive like the cold nights and stuff?
Walk in the woods on the same day.
That's my question.
But the fact that they are standing so close to
Well, first of all, if they're not physical, if they're not flesh and blood, then they can, right? If they're not subject to the same elements as us, and they're not subject to the temperature, right? If they're more
Yeah.
ethereal to begin with, or they're interdimensional, then they can. A possibility not be influenced by the elements like you and I are in our meat suits. So,
They got
how can that
they got a
happen?
different type meat suit, or
Maybe they don't even have a meat suit. Did anybody
yeah,
touch the
that
thing? Here's the thing: did anybody touch the thing? These images and these videos we have, some could be faked, some are probably not. Did anybody ever touch these things? Does anybody have any testimony on what they feel like? It's funny to listen to old time Bigfoot or UFO ufologist researcher who described the aliens that when he had this experience with them, they felt like marshmallows.
really?
Marshmallows.
Hmm. That's weird.
Like there might be plasmic in nature or not subject to the physical
Huh.
laws of physics as you and I are in this physical realm. So, yeah, and you'll see stuff like, we know about the TikTok shape UFOs, but then they also have teardrop shaped UFOs, and
Yeah.
everything's so connected with each other. A lot of times, you see these people, you see drawings of these UFOs, and if you were flip them on the side, they look just like an orb, a wheel within a wheel.
That's something that I don't think I've ever got to talk to you about, but I've seen a lot of UFOs, and we were just talking about my wife's mom. She passed away not too long ago, and first time I'd ever seen anything. I've looked my whole life, and I never saw doodly squat. Well, we were out in the middle of nowhere, northern Missouri, in a cornfield, and this is way back when, and drinking days, and me and this other Marine, we got to talking, and we're like, what is that over there? It looked like a party was going on. I'm talking lights this way and then lights that way. And I mean, we both were infantry. So we're thinking it's not a helicopter. It's not a school bus. It's not a plane. Like, we literally went through 10 fingers apiece, and we're like, we're out in the middle of nowhere. Let's just go check it out. We drove drunk over there, and we shouldn't have. And I said, all right, you drive. You know, it's your car, you drive. And I said, I'll keep my eyes on it. That way you never have to, you know, and I'll just tell you when we come to a stop, I'll tell you left to right. And we got really close to the thing. We got about maybe 100 yards away from it. And it's just like, we never saw where the lights originated from. We just saw evidence of the lights. And it was literally like somebody turned a concert off with a switch. It just, that's it. Done. Pitch black again. So ever since then, I don't know if that primed me or what, but I've
Say
seen
that.
so many different.
Say that.
It just turned off, just like that.
Say that again. Like-
It's like a
like a
whole
lights?
concert. Yeah, it's like a whole concert, just like a party, just switched off, just like that.
That's fascinating. And those you listened
that
to, was it 2 nights ago, or that half the part that, you know, after Claudia shared some of her experiences, we listened to that one from the confessionals about the young man, you know, ended up in the Joshua Tree Forest or wherever they call it.
It rings
game
the bell.
reserve,
I caught some of that.
where
Mhm.
interacting with those satanic cult, and he brought up very similar experiences like it. It seemed like that too, like the concert light, the
Really?
brightness of color.
See, I didn't catch that. I guess I think I quit listening right about the time when I heard them say where they were. I had to run, I think, that
In
night.
fact, many people have said something similar to that. So when you start studying this stuff, you know, like I said, and I'll say it again, you start studying near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, life after death, the spirit realm, spirit entities, elemental spirits, forest poltergeists in the home, UFOs, orbs, Bigfoot showing up in seances in the people's houses, and on it goes. You start to realize that we're dealing with something that has strong correlations with each other and clearly have something in common with each other. And so this would explain a lot of the lack of hard physical evidence that we are never finding when it comes to Sasquatch, when it comes to rakes, like you said earlier, aliens, spirits, and et cetera, because they are something that's interdimensional, that's able to cross over. And I think that part of is our own behavior, whether it's rituals, our own power and intent, you know, summoning, past curses, present curses. You know, a lot of times we're so ignorant about what's really going on. We have no idea what these people are doing when they're running around in their circles and pounding their drums and saying their stuff in some foreign language. You know what I mean? We can barely understand each other when it comes to English. How the heck do we understand?
I'll take you out there in the daytime and I'll show you that circle that's out there.
Yeah, that reminded me of something of a fairy circle or something like that.
I can tell you a story about a fairy circle.
All right.
Okay. When I was in the Army, I got deployed to, I volunteered to go to Kosovo. And I had just read or heard about it somewhere that if you see a circle of mushrooms perfectly in a circle, you squat in the middle of it, like you kneel down, and then you say a wish. You say your wish, and then I think that's it. You just step out. You don't knock any of them down. You just leave it. Well, we were out on patrol. I saw one, and I don't know why I didn't think anything weird about it, but I hopped down in there, did it real quick, and I hopped right out. Well, one of the things I wished for was, or the thing I wished for was, that we wouldn't lose any guys and we would all make it home safe. That's what I wished for, which it was a peacekeeping mission, but you know, still things happen. Well, we lost one, we had one guy go home early. He had a pinched, one of his man parts got pinched, so he had to go home early. but
Wow.
we we all got we all got home safe. So either way, so I feel like I got my wish, but I don't know. Maybe it came with a price. I don't know.
They say a lot of times that's exactly what happens. So when you think about groves, fairy circles, trees, rocks, the elementals, it's been something that's been going on since time immemorial, that those people who are in the know have been messing around with this stuff for forever. So, you know what I mean? The problem is you and I and everyone's been received a public fool's education. And so we know very, very little about what's really going on uh, around us. We think we do. We think we do because of all the book learning that we've done. But that's what it is book learning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's even this, say there's people who could come and maybe they'll listen to me or somebody else. They can listen to me until they're, I'm blue in the face. They can believe me or not. And I appreciate it if they do believe me. And I can also appreciate it if they don't believe me. But at some point, you're going to have to find out if these things are true or not. You're going to have to find out. Can't count on somebody else to do it for you. That's the way life works. You know what I mean? The problem is people should warn you fully about what you're getting yourself into, what the consequences are, and what will happen potentially in your life. And maybe nothing will happen. Maybe things have already happened. You don't even realize it, right? It's a very we're dealing with the spiritual realm or this interdimensional realm. It's a very messy situation.
Well, Scripture says in the end times, all their secrets are going to be made known, and I think that's what we're getting to witness right now. I mean, I know we share the whole flat Earth thing, but to me, I used to be the guy. Why would they lie? Why would they lie about this? Why would they lie about that? So I trusted everything that came across the news, and I shut my TV off like what, probably 15 years ago or more. So
Best move you ever made.
yeah, it really was. And indirectly, my wife kind of did too. Like I didn't put any pressure on her. I'm like, you can watch it if you want, but I just feel the zombie come over my face. And there's times when that's good, when you want to watch a movie or something, but I've always had a knack. I've seen the thing they were weaving, the propaganda they'd weave in. I could always pick it out, and it just stuck out, and it just bugged me, and I don't like it. I don't like being manipulated,
Yeah, we shouldn't. So
So check this out. You get a little preview of what I'm working on.
that is a painting.
It's a desert, and I'm
Is it a
coming
war
out of the
scene?
desert. I'm coming out of the desert, so it's gonna be behind me. Actually, it's gonna go right there, and then I'm gonna put my 101st Airborne flag.
What are you doing? Are you painting on that?
No, it's actually like a felt fabric that somebody printed it on it or something.
Okay.
It's
All
just it's always hung out in my garage, and now it's kind of symbolic that I want to put it on my backdrop. So here I'll say, my wife helped me hang this up to that tonight because I'm out on my front porch. So
Yeah, big candle. Is that a real candle or fake candle?
it's fake. It's actually a shower curtain. I just thought it looked.
Yeah, it's very deceptive. The shower curtain and the stacked rocks and everything. Okay.
I just thought it was kind of cool looking. So
I say it looks massive. Like, how did you guys pull that off? I go, of course it is. It's a print.
it looks better than looking at plastic on the.
Well, this is a really important topic there to talk about when it comes to perspective and how. So, okay, and something that I've been thinking about, and that is you can have 3 or 4 people in a circumstance or situation and where there's an encounter or a sighting. and each person will see everything a little bit differently because of their location. And if you think of the light spectrum, the light refraction, and how so, and if these things are ethereal, energetic beings, say four people, like 4 feet apart, 2 feet apart from each other, right, watching this thing, and that's a significant amount that the person on one end might only see part of what's going on, and the other person on the other end might not even see anything going on. And I know it's hard to understand or comprehend, but it's very easy to happen, especially if there's the light spectrum itself isn't part of what's happening. So there could be something right there. People might think it's actually being cloaked when it's not being cloaked. It's just because each person's perspective is a little different. That includes even our ability, our eyesight, how clear we can actually see with or without glasses. Glasses themselves influence what we see, right? Then, then you add cameras to it, is even a different perspective and a different lens. And why is
I
it
have my own unique perspective.
We all do. Absolutely. And, and then you could be, with your cat and your dog, and they all see something different than you and each other. And that's where you can see how one certain group of animals could be seeing something while you're not seeing something. So it's the reason why it's so complicated is because we're dealing with the light perspective, we're dealing with energy, we're dealing with something that's plasmic in nature and a spiritual nature, as we call it, spiritual generically, right? And then you put all that together, and so heck, I mean, I've heard. Okay, it's so bizarre the things you. Story. Here's just a very short, brief synopsis of the story. So this guy saying that when he was in his early 20s, when he was living down there in Tucson, Arizona, he had one of these egg shape. It was more egg shape or teardrop shape capsule or space station or spaceship. That's what he called it. It could be an orb. And it's all right. Land in his front yard, right? And the people across the street were hippies, and they came out and they were in a total trance, right? And I think obviously contributing from smoking a lot of the good stuff and then being in this trance. And they were just standing right next to this quote unquote alien spaceship, right? By the way, this alien spaceship was the color of blue and purple, which people see constantly in the other realm, in the ethereal realm.
Like bismuth or isn't it gallium and bismuth? Don't they both have that color? Like
I can't think about that right now. I don't even know. I haven't thought about rocks in a while. I have to look at it. You have to ask somebody who knows more about rocks than me.
You brought up something I wanted to ask you about. When you look at a flat horizon out in front of you, when you can see all the way to your left and all the way to your right, how far of a distance, if you were to measure from that point to that point, how big of a pie piece can you see? You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, we're very limited in what we can see.
But that's still a huge pie piece in a distance, from point A over here all the way over there. That's a really far, to me, that proves flat Earth. Just that alone.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Maybe, like I said, I've studied it intensely. And the only thing I came from studying the flat Earth, the heliocentric model, the geocentric model is, I have no idea what this place looks like. Looks flat to me from where I'm standing, though. And, but I don't know where this place. I just assume I do from the images and the pictures that the experts told me. So once again, comes down to the same damn thing. If I'm honest with myself, and if be honest 100%, I can say I have no idea what this place looks like.
I just remember something else she said about Bigfoot. Bring it back to Bigfoot. Okay, so she shared a couple different stories. I told you the puddle one, where they were surrounded. Okay, they were looking out a window, and they were looking down the hill, and there were 2 kids playing, and they were near a pond. I get my details mixed up, but I remember the main parts. And I guess this, she said, "What is that thing down there?" Talking to this other lady, "What is that thing down there leaning up against that tree?" And she goes, "The thing that looks like Bigfoot." So she didn't say that to her. So she saw it, and they both realized, "Oh, wow." And then they looked back, and the kids would come, the kids that started running up the hill, and the thing was gone. So that was another thing she shared. Also, her dad, I'm supposed to hopefully talk to him in the next day or two. They had a handprint about 10 foot to 12 foot up on the outside of the window.
Again, just like
You know,
Claudia. Claudia has an image of that as well.
you know, so they got on Google, and they're trying to figure out what it is, and I think they Googled maybe Bigfoot handprint, and the first thing that pops up looked exactly identical to what they had on their window. And I've seen that picture, so um, I've made up my mind tonight. I think I wanna go full time on this, and I don't know what that looks like yet. I don't know if we hold hands or what I need to do, but I need to do something. I think I found my calling. I really do. And I thought, with my ability, I could go meet with people. I could be drawing while they're telling me. They could be filling out my form, because I want to create a form that has multiple questions, that is, clear, concise information, that also doubles as a waiver and an affidavit. You see? I think that would be pretty easy. So I would have the information I need to keep up and keep track. And, I've really tried to put some thought into this. And then you haven't met my friend Austin, but he heard the noise as well out of my house. He's going to try to join me in the comments tomorrow, but he mentioned
In the comments tomorrow. What do you mean?
yeah, he's not going to be able to make the show. And
What show?
so did I not tell you?
No.
I didn't. I could have sworn I did. All right. I'm going on Hidden Existence tomorrow.
Hidden Existence.
It's a Bigfoot Odyssey. It's Kerry Arnold. That's his old show. Well, since he passed away, YouTube doesn't allow for you to, like, if I died right now and I had a YouTube channel, my wife couldn't take it over.
Right.
Which I don't understand why not. She should be able to. We're one and the same. So either way, so she's faced with, she has this opportunity. She has this show, and then she has, this group of people. So trying to make them realize what happened and try to follow me over here, so when you rebrand, you lose your momentum.
It's true. Sometimes it's complete opposite, like with me. So
I got one for you.
Because my name of my show is so censored, and they know. Center it. Turn it. Take it to your.
I'm trying to see.
Take it to your left a little bit. There you go. Up. Early Bird Landscape.
Yep. That was my brand for 10 years.
Oh, it's a landscaper?
Yeah, I came up with that, and I had it on my truck, and I was proud of it. It turned out like I drew it. And
well, if we're going to sidetrack too much, I will share the story. What I'll do is actually I will share the video of the person, not tonight, because I'm closing shop in 20 minutes because I'm extremely tired.
Yeah.
I had a great interview with Sean Graham. So, God, I can't talk right now. So, anyways, as far as those two hippie, the couple standing next to that alien like capsule or pod, and this guy, it's fascinating. You see, and the guy loses time, and next thing you know, he's a couple miles away from his house, and he's interacting with something that looks like a ghost and something that looks like an alien, and you just go, and aliens look so much like what people call demons, and and those almond eyes, and it's very interesting as you start connecting almond eyes with Bigfoot eyes, or brown almond eyes, dark big ones. You know what I mean? Anyways, it's you can see the clear correlations with everything that's going on. But saying that, why don't you? Are you able to share your some of your videos with people? I know we only got 4 here, but actually this was being recorded, so you can.
What videos?
Of the stuff you made of your Bigfoot pictures, or should I do it?
Do you want me to send it to you, or how do you want me to do that?
Oh, let's forget it. I'll do it.
I was about to say it's on my phone. I'm not a techie, you know this. Like I'm still trying to work out how I'm going to share any of this stuff tomorrow.
I know
I have a tablet.
You want to do this. I mean, this
Yeah,
is
go
how
for
you
it.
see
It's not hurting me none. You see,
Yeah,
what you should do is share the funny
hopefully.
ones. Share the good ones. I love the one I made yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was. That's probably. It's like every newest one is always my favorite because I just keep getting better at it. Oh man.
Let's show some of Chris's art. something like that.
You get to see my reaction to my own stuff. Yeah, that's the one I put up today, I think. Oh my gosh. No. Those were sneak peeks. Those were only for you.
Sorry for sharing.
That's the. I just thought I'd tell you. Well, these are. I haven't even created this one yet. Like that's a sneak peek for you. But I'll explain it. It's a. I just had the idea that I kept wanting to call what I saw or heard a ghost. Or daggone it, I'm so messed up. An owl. So I tried to draw Bigfoot, or I tried to draw an owl looking like Bigfoot, all swole up, and that's kind of what came out. And I was trying to highlight it for you. Are you on my Facebook? That's probably the best. Yeah, that's probably the best place. That one right there. That's the one I did yesterday or the day
before. Should we play this one?
Yeah, sure. That one's awesome.
In the night, take my hand. We're off to Never Land. Exit.
It's what it is. It's what it is.
Exit light. Into night.
Let's see what else is going on here.
Next. There's some of them I get the vocals okay.
Did you do these mugs? Are these your drawings on the mugs?
My wife went to my website. She's my first customer. And the gnome I did last Christmas, everybody did a tutorial, and I followed the tutorial, but I broke off and did my own thing. So that's on my website. And the other one is a Bigfoot. That's my dog there, Gunter. Let's see what else you got. Oh, that. Click on that one with that girl right there. That one is the one that's got the Bigfoot looking thing on it. It's like a white Bigfoot looking thing. Oh, I think it's real. It gives me the heebie-jeebies.
So here, my computer's slow thanks to this program.
Working too hard.
Actually, it's not even my program. It's not even my computer's mode.
The restrooms at the campground, and 20 yards away, just outside of the lake from the bathhouse, there was this pale creature with long legs, dark black eyes, and a large mouth. It moved in ways that weren't normal, ways that defied physics.
Isn't that creepy? God, that just blows my mind. I went in the comments section and everybody's like, they were like trying to debunk it because, see, it said dark eyes. Look at its eyes. They're not dark. I'm like, you, like, wake up, you goofballs. light bouncing off the retina. I'm like,
Well, I have to tell you, I'm a little bit suspect only because of my ex-friend, supposed friend, Rick Kleberneck, who faked the gargoyle in his backyard, and which he had millions of views, and has been his video has been showed on hundreds of different paranormal channels.
I knew that one was fake. I didn't know you were connected, but I knew that was fake.
He came to my house. I'm the one exposed that he was fake. He admitted he faked it. And no one, I doubt there's even 100 people even seen the video. That's how
I've seen
censored
it.
I am. You know
I've
what?
seen
You're lucky they have 100 people see the truth about something. Millions of people see something fake. That's how this world works. And so you have to start questioning things a little bit about what's really going on around here. You know what I mean? I mean, why is it that if you're promote lies, you're promoted, and if you tell the truth, you are censored and ostracized.
Look at the triceps on that thing, though. Where the triceps are.
I'm not just saying that because I'm butthurt or anything like that. I mean, because in the day, this has been this way for years. So I just.
That's
first couple things is that genital area. This is very strange. Is that a super thin old lady that's in a costume? I don't know.
It looks like
this one.
To me,
pretty,
it looks.
This one. This is harder. Well, first of all, this is definitely harder to fake. First of all, because there's nothing obscuring it.
There you go.
There's nothing blocking it. There's no screens blocking it. There's no trees blocking it. There's nothing. So we look at this thing. And here's another thing. We see this constantly of this quote unquote eye shine, which no biological animal could do any of that, period. I mean, just look at it. You name one biological animal has eyes like that. Now, could it be a guy wearing goggles or an old lady wearing goggles with lights on it? Could be. But if you look at it, you be carefully when it comes to eyesight. If it was, say, flashlights, you would see the beam of the light. I don't see no beam of light.
Oh, right.
I don't see any beam of light. Second, you look at the genital area, it looks like if there's a hermaphrodite or a woman.
I could have sworn I'd seen a little wiener there, but
I don't see a wiener there. I see something that's more like a labia to me. But secondly, it could be a woman. But if you look at the shoulders, and it could be somebody's in latex, because now that we know how Rick did it, how he pulled it off, there's that possibility.
Yeah.
But he's willing to give the benefit of doubt to people, even if we find out a year later, 5 years later, that they lied to us and they hoodwinked us because of my own experiences. And so who am I to say they didn't really have it?
Look at the triceps. The triceps is what, I don't know. I wanted to be a bodybuilder for a long time. And I looked at a lot of images.
Honestly, it looks to me, the triceps don't look like an old lady's arms. The lower body.
Further down. You see how they're further down on the arm? That's what makes me believe that it's got a long from shoulder to elbow.
Well, it's got.
And I've always heard that big.
Actually, if you're really paying attention, what's weird is the deltoids themselves, but
they're long and stretched out. Would you think they'd be overpronounced if it's running on all fours?
Well, if it's a human being, they had to spend some time with latex and an extreme amount. That's real. I'm putting my money. If I have to put my money on this, what we're looking at is a real entity. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I would if I had a betting man and I had to put money on it. That's not fake.
If it's real, it's probably a chimpanzee that doesn't have any hair that they've photoshopped to have longer arms or something. That's
Nah,
the best I can come up with.
that ain't no chimpanzee. That's either some
It has
dude.
the same muscles as the one in the legs.
Either it's some dude that has a really weird, or a lady that has a weird body. I mean, if you look at the legs and the space between the crotch area and the legs, let's watch more of this.
I was about to say there's 2 or 3 photos.
I don't like listening to the audio because it's the power of suggestion. So, you know what I mean? They'll tell you this
Yeah,
is
I
what this,
understand.
and you're like, no.
That channel, I don't believe, is known for having like legitimate stuff. So I don't know.
Well, that doesn't mean they themselves don't get snookered. Yeah, this channel is known for promoting quite a few
Is it?
clear.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And by the way, it's not saying. Oh, dude's got to stop.
Look at that. That is that the same thing? Is that the same one? That's wild. Can you zoom into the groin?
Oh God, you're gonna get snookered again. You see, because most of the things that I filmed are always hazy and blurry. Hardly having that kind of detail. The things I see with my own eyes end up having detail like that, but I can't film. That's
Well,
my
something I've
experience.
noticed with my camera, when I take pictures of all this stuff, I have to take those pictures in the dark. And my night vision on my camera, the little IR light, it illuminates it. So that's what we're seeing is that IR flashlight in
You got
its
an
eyes.
IR? You got infrared flashlight?
It's on your phone. It's on your phone. You just don't know it's there.
Oh, I don't use a cell phone to film stuff, so I do need to
Well,
get an RI. I need to get an RI light, one of them on my phone. Or I don't know. My brother was talking to me about this Synex or Synonyx Aurora Pro. I don't know if he's going to do it or not, but if he does, and if you do hear this, Eric, hey, thank you for thinking about me. That means a lot to me. Well, he wants me. He feels that we're doing important work, and he wants me to get out there at night with the Synex night vision camera and with infrared lighting. You got to have ambient lighting to film the orbs.
I got you covered. Check this out. Use a remote control, like your TV remote control. Those are IR bulbs. That's how they work. Check it out. Here's a remote. Check it out. Here's a remote.
No, I need a big ambient light to light up a large area. And not
I know, but in the dark, that's like a flashlight. Your camera will see that as like a flashlight. So if you can find one that actually stays lit, yeah, try a couple different ones.
Well, actually, the LED infrared flashes or lights are relatively cheap in this point. So,
yeah, there's no more Radio Shack.
Yeah, so it's cheaper. So let's look at this. I don't know. You guys are here. The three of your left, or two of your left, Sheldon and Susie. If you're still there, what do you guys think?
That's wild.
Your vision is as good as ours. Sure, it could be faked. It's like a 50-50.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, 50-50.
Yes, this could be. But at the same token, gosh, I'm just gun shy at this point after what Rick tried to pull on me.
I always go skeptical first, whatever my gut tells me first. Gut kick. I think those are two different things. That doesn't look like the same creature to me.
I know one thing. If that's a dude, he has one heart of a package, and maybe he's one of those dudes that can shove it inside, but that can't be a dude.
A transvestite. He's got it duct taped back.
So could it be a woman? Yeah, if you look at the head, if she's wearing latex or a mask, That could be her hair being matted down by the latex mask and giving it that.
Yeah, but look at the muscles in the legs. Those are not muscles that run. Those are monkey muscles. Those look like freaking chimpanzee muscles in the legs.
There's no nipples.
There isn't.
I don't see any nipples.
It does kind of look female now that I look at it a second time, but like I said, that's a hard one to fake. Very hard.
I don't know if it is or not.
See, that doesn't even look like the same thing to me. The leg muscles are all different. And
extremely long arms for a woman. A long bicep, deltoids for a woman. The deltoids are much bigger than even the arms. You would have large deltoids like that if you were doing a lot of crawling around.
Look at those forearms too.
Well, forearm, yeah, but they're very narrow. Of course, then we look at the leg structure. It looks like it's somebody that's very athletic, regardless. I mean, I would say it's real. Maybe it's because I want it to be real. But, and there's always a possibility of my own biases. But
I want to ask you about you remember L.A. Marzulli got duped?
We'll all get duped, man. If you do this long enough, let's think about it. That Rick dude, he drove 2.5 hours out of his way. He's sitting in my house, lying to my face and to everyone else saying that it happened without even, there was red flags. I just thought maybe he was just overwhelmed by it, or he was just, a simple dude. And only to find out later, he was having a hard time lying. And that's all. So he was like, one of the things you do is you instead of imparting a whole bunch of information, you try to minimize it as much as possible so that you don't trip over yourself, right? Which I was seeing him do that, but I was like, okay, this is a pretty extreme situation. Maybe he's just overwhelmed by the whole thing. I mean, this guy called me up numerous times, and asked me to pray for him. I have the second video of what happened 2 years ago where he fakes it, and where you can clearly see it's him faking it in latex. He calls me up and says, "This is my backyard. Please pray for him." Right? And in that second video, it's me praying for the first.
You were on the phone with him. I remember this. I saw that video. Oh my God! I knew I heard your voice before. That's hilarious.
And I'm like, dude, he thought it was just funny, right? And I said, you know what, man? You know what you call people like you? And he goes, what? It's recorded. Remember what I said?
It's been a while. Over a year ago, I saw it.
You're an asshole. They call people like you a fucking asshole is what I said. Sorry, the language. I was very upset. I mean, listen,
I remember that.
I really seen stuff. And by the way, there are tens of thousands.
Why'd you call him that then?
Why? Because he was lying and he would deceive me. Is it because
he called you so late or what?
You call him that because he spent all that time calling me numerous times, pretending to be my friend, coming to my house 2.5 hours away from around Mansfield, Ohio, right? Doing interviews. The thing is, there's a lot of hoaxers and they just don't care. They think it's just funny. But listen, if you have real encounters, you have real experiences, it's not funny.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of other, hoax that would be a lot more funny. And for somebody to ask me to pray for him aloud, live, to call me numerous times, pretending that he's having hard times and having bad experience with spirits and all that, right? I mean, I'm talking not just once or twice, but numerous dozens of times.
That's a waste of time.
Well, it's
premeditated.
From 2017 to him finally being honest about it in 2022. So for 5 hours, he did that to me. 5 years.
What was his angle?
He just thought it was funny. claims himself to be a Christian, writes all these Christian songs and puts them on his channel. And, and he just, like he said, he got the attention and he took it for all it was worth to see if he can get himself more attention for his music and all that. He was just, he thought it was amazing how he duked everybody.
That's not good.
Now, everyone was saying red flags, right? Because
That's not good.
He was filming it through the screen door of his porch, right? And so,
I thought that was something.
And I gave him the benefit of it because, man, I'm not lying when I said I had one crawl up to me or in front of me 15 feet away, and it had 2 counters that close. All right? 2 encounters.
You talking the Bigfoot, the one I saw?
What one? What one?
It was your account really that kind of changed my. You painted a really good mental picture. That.
Well, the first time I saw was the Indian medicine man, and the second time was my backyard.
Okay,
I'm
talking. I don't know if I've heard that one.
And so you listen, it's. I mean, you couldn't listen. You would be pissed. I mean, most people. He's lucky, if it was somebody else that had anger issues.
Yes, butt kick.
Yeah.
He probably deserves a butt kick.
But this, man, first of all, if it is a human being, they got a strange body. There are a lot of people with strange bodies, very thin body. It has to be more of a woman than a man, but you can just look at the crotch. It could be a woman. You look at the top. If they're wearing like latex and they were matting down their hair, it would have that kind of shape to the head. And you could have some kind of glasses that would emanate that kind of light. But you see there's no mouth, no nose, really.
Yeah, I thought that was a little odd too.
So you could be using a mask, and who knows? Maybe it's some old lady that likes to pull hoaxes.
There should be a shadow. If the light's that bright to shine that much, there should be a shadow on both of them because there's a tree behind them both. You see what I mean? You would see that.
I don't even think they're the same picture. They're 2 different.
No, I thought they were at first, but yeah, now that I look at them again, I don't know.
They're 2 different. First of all, they're not the same.
I think the guy's playing around with Photoshop is what I think he's doing. Yeah, I'm almost sure of it now. Because I've seen a couple other images where he's messed around with it. Look like dog man, werewolf looking things, and I'm like, wait, that don't look right. He did a pretty good job, and he used the light to hide behind. I think yeah.
Well, what if the possibility is one is fake and one is real? They're not the same. They're not the same. Well, potentially they're not the same event. Just by you look at the trees.
That's like an oak tree, looks like maybe, and the other ones, they're quite a bit smaller.
More like pine trees or some sort.
Yeah, it looks more like a pine tree to me too.
Or cedar.
Like a loblolly or a cedar, maybe.
That I would put my money on that's a woman in a suit.
I would go off the channel first. That's your first indicator, And
they're known for doing hoaxes. But you can
it's a money-making game.
Well, look at this. You can see that's like a bra. Almost.
I can kind of see what you're talking about, yeah.
This one, are they the same thing? I don't think they're the same entity.
No, the leg muscles look way different. And then the arms look way different.
I would have to say, first of all, it's a woman. Both it has to be. Subject
that looks like a man right there to me.
Now, both subjects are female.
I bet money this one right here is a man. The other one
Well,
looks
he
like
knows how to. He must be one of those dudes that can shove his dingling into his pelvis. Because
no. They use duct tape, man. Don't ask me how I know that.
okay,
Man, what a weird deal. Yeah, just between you and me, I don't know if you got anybody on here or not. I'll be I think she's starting the show at 5, and I think it'll probably go until 7, which that's like 1:00 her time in the morning. So she's that far off. And I asked her, I said an hour is not enough. I said I could talk for, hours. Just
looking at this, I would not. I'm changing my mind and sticking with this time that this is a hoax.
I'm with you.
Based on the channel that Donovan's Dread. That's all
Yeah,
he does.
it's completely new, and he's up and coming. So yeah, I don't buy it either. I'll change my mind as well. That's the good thing about having an opinion. You can change it.
And I would also, just based on this, the way it looks, that I would say that it is a woman that's in and a woman would probably be better off, especially when it comes to have something very tight, like latex or a tight outfit. The eyes, probably is okay. I would say 80% it's a hoax, 20% hoping that it's real.
Yeah.
Okay.
My buddy sent me a video based off of what was it?
So tell us what's going on. Where's you're going to be at the new Bigfoot Odyssey channel?
Yeah, it's called. She calls her channel Hidden Existence.
Hidden Existence. You got a link to it?
I don't have a link per se, but I did. I think I sent you that the thing she sent me. I'd say she'll probably send me the link tomorrow. I'm guessing. I actually thought about going out there and taking pictures of some of the structures, but I can't believe I found that one when I was on your deal. I'm really shocked I was able to find it.
Well, she has the Facebook page too.
Yeah. No, I'm serious though. I really think I need to.
Scott Carpenter was
how to
on
do
there
this.
just recently. Huh?
Yeah, she gets pretty good guests, but I feel like her numbers could be way bigger. Or I mean, I would like them to be.
The more honest you are, the less the numbers are going to be this time right now. It's not.
Yeah.
So he doesn't. William Steele, did she promote it yet?
Not me, I don't believe. And that's another one is I really worry about self-promotion now. So like it's like yesterday nobody cared, and then today, now that I'm a creator, I'm all of a sudden, dishonest, and you can't trust me because I've made $10 on 6 months of work.
Wow.
Because that's all. Or no, I think I've made $10 off of that, and then some of the money from my wife from buying a couple of my products.
It's tough, man. It's tough business to get yourself in. So
yeah, I mean, I know it's probably not going to be a big money maker, but I feel like the cause is right. And if I do my own thing, I can say my own opinion on whatever. I don't know. I always prayed that God would give me a big spotlight. That way I could share, with a bigger audience.
So you're going to share, you're going to go on there. Let's see, live.
There it is right there. I see it third over.
Chris Miller
Yes,
joins
sir.
Danielle.
I went and got a haircut, and I maybe shouldn't have.
Did you trim your beard as well?
Oh yeah, check that out. I did not touch the mustache though. Look at this. I got the whole Yosemite Sam thing
Oh,
going.
there you go. Yeah, so somebody said, make sure get some wax, man. Get some gel. Make sure get a nice curl on it.
I got some beeswax out there in the shop.
So
I'm
okay,
primitive, man.
well, good job, Chris, for getting on there in the show. And of course, we've talked about you. Well, you're joining me here anyway, so.
Yeah, I was about to say, you should let me get a shower one time and then actually like work on my backdrop and actually give me some heads up instead of looking like a scrub
Well, I don't care.
hugging a heater.
I'm an old man. I don't care.
You know, you never would have caught me doing anything like this 10 years ago. I would never have got on camera ever. I'm married. I have a kid. I don't have anybody to impress. I feel like you don't like me because of the way I look anymore. And I never thought I'd ever get to this point, but here I am. So.
Well, I'm 13 hours over my time here. I want to end this because I'm just tired. But it's good talking to you, buddy. I wish I wasn't so tired. I could maybe put a couple of sentences together, but when I get tired, man, it's just hard.
It's good. Drink water next time you can't put sentences together. You're dehydrated.
It's just my MS. Nothing's working right. So some days it's all right and some days it's not. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, and I'm going to end with a prayer. I'll see you.
See you later, man.
Take care.
All right. There's Chris Miller. He's going to be on. Chris is going to be on Hidden Existence tomorrow night. Good. It sounds like 15 hours from now. And there you go. So I am exhausted and I want to go to bed. So with that, thank you, everyone.